A picture can help you understand why the AI has said what it said. Logging is the lifeblood of cybersecurity. We produce unbelievable amounts of logs, and AI, machine learning, deep learning is really, really good at analyzing large amounts of information and spotting things. So detecting unusual behavior, this kind of pattern doesn't normally happen, or this machine has never talked to this IP address before and now suddenly it's started doing it. You can do that kind of detection on what the machines are doing, but you can also do it on people too. You have social engineering, phishing attacks. It's all about getting people to do things. And so AI is also good at looking at, is this a normal pattern of behavior? Does this person normally log on at this time of day and then go straight to this particular folder and start downloading files from it? That might be an unusual pattern. One of the things that LLMs are very good at is summarization, right? So if you think of that logging, you collect the data, then you detect things, then you produce alerts and warnings about what's going on. And we hear often in the cybersecurity space of alert fatigue, just so many of these things coming in, hundreds, thousands of alerts. You might want to look at this thing might be a vulnerability, that's a bad way of configuring your cloud setup. It's overwhelming, there's just tons of it. Any user of cybersecurity software, basically they need to know what's going on, what does it mean, what does it impact, and what do I need to do about it? And you just got to figure that stuff out quickly. And I guess that's where we come in, where visualization comes in, because I think a text summary alone of what's going on is not really enough to help these people do their job, especially when the sheer amount of information is that high. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is around context. You could explain something in words, but it's quite a complex thing you're trying to describe. If you're talking about exploitation of a vulnerability, or you're talking about some configuration, posture management problem of the way things are set up, or you're talking about non-human identities, some suspicious activity going on, it's quite a lot to understand. The need to explain the context of what these alerts mean is really high, and I think that visualization, painting a picture of what's going on, is a huge part of making this AI software useful. If it's a cloud security application, then drawing your cloud infrastructure in a way that helps you understand where this problem is, what the attack vector is, and what configurations are causing that problem. If we're looking at identity access management, or if we're looking at patterns of behavior, you might want to see a timeline of how a particular sequence unfolded, the logins, then the moving to a file folder, then downloading things. You want to see how that plays out in time. If it's a incident report on an attack that's happened, you might want to see the kind of process chain of if a phishing link was opened, then this executable was run, and this changed these privileges, and then you see this cascade of what happens. So these pictures show you how these problems fit in relation to the wider infrastructure. And I think really what we're doing is mapping. We're mapping out complex systems, and we are helping users navigate those systems. That's what a map is, right? It helps you understand where you are and what's around you, where things are going. And whether it's a network topology, or a cloud architecture, or a process tree, or a timeline, these maps just help us understand what's going on. That's the first part. I think the second part of visualization is, I think it can tell us more about what's going on than just describing it. So one really important part of the picture and the mapping I'm describing is setting the individual data points in some kind of wider context and structure. A great example of that is cloud security, where people often don't really think of their cloud infrastructure as a network. If you're using, say, AWS, and you're buying various services, and you're switching on these services, I need an S3 bucket, I need a compute cluster, I need a load balancer, you're thinking of it as services, but it's becoming increasingly normal to view these in an architectural diagram, and users expect things arranged in a certain way. They expect boxes within boxes, and what our libraries allow you to do is impose that structure on the graph and on the network, so that I can see an attack path, but I can also see the boxes, the regions, or the virtual machines, or the zones of my architecture, and how they sit together. And that's super powerful. You don't need to see all of it, but you need to see enough of it to know where you are. With AI, we've seen what it can do, but we've also seen that it's not always right. It's an uncanny thing sometimes. It's phenomenally convincing and believable at some things and then hopelessly wrong at others. So I think, again, this is where visualization, storytelling, narrative, context, they all come in, because a picture can help you understand why the AI has said what it said. If the AI thinks that this thing has been misconfigured and it allows a path from the outside world to get through to a particular database or data source where valuable data sits, and then you look at that picture and you can see a problem with it, any kind of context like that is incredibly powerful. Visualizations help us ask questions, they help us think differently. It's very hard to predict the future in any of this. I think what we'll see is a more seamless integration of AI with other parts of libraries. In the same way we expect we can interact with a mouse or with a keyboard, I think we'll just come to expect that we can press the buttons, or we can just ask a vague question and let the software help me figure out how to do that. As a result, we'll see the interfaces and the user experience getting a lot more powerful. It won't be so siloed, and we'll see these richer visualizations, the timelines, the graphs complementing AI, and people being able to interrogate them in new ways that they couldn't do before. So I think the future is quite exciting.